Health effects from screen time. Really, all of us are only supposed to be spending around 2 hours looking at screen times, or like looking at your phone, electronics, and playing video games and stuff. But we all know that everyone spends way more than over 2 hours on screen time. A lot of people's jobs consist of being on computers and phones and all that kind of stuff, and it relies on that. So every day that they have like an 8-hour day of work, then they're spending that long, plus going at home and spending that. Too much screen time can also take a large toll on your body, and so that also can affect you in that way. Too much screen time for your body is unhealthy because if you're constantly just on your phone and not doing any extracurricular activities, like walking, hiking, doing all that kind of stuff, it can play a major toll. It's better to almost be on your phone and walking, but it is dangerous. And doing stuff, be active, than just sitting down and being on it. People who just sit down and play video games and are on their phones and stuff and don't get enough outside, it can cause harm to your body. It's unhealthy for them because they can get cancer and diabetes just from doing that. And it's also unhealthy because not being out in the sunlight can also cause an effect on your body as well.
So some scientific research on this is an article written by the New York Times. Too much screen time can take a dramatic change on your brain. And if you get too much screen time in short durations of time, it can lead effects to your brains. And your brain can actually rewire itself to kind of like in a response to too much screen time, so it will kind of adjust to your daily activities. And from there's an article written by the Belfast University that over 200 studies have found that too many violent video games can actually make you have an aggressive behavior. And in kids, too much screen time can actually cause ADHD. Our topic is important to mostly the younger generations because too much screen time can affect your whole life pretty much if you don't, change your daily response to it. Most homes have some sort of screen, like a TV or a phone or iPad or some sort. And it shows that kids under 7 actually average 5 hours of screen time each day, and that's way over the recommended limit. Spending too much screen time a day can actually affect and cause cancer and diabetes in most people. And a better way to spend your time during the day is going outside and get some activities done, like playing sports or reading a book or something to keep your brain active, I guess. Some things you can do to limit your screen time or set a timer on your TV to limit the amount of time you spend on it, and also your phone, you can set an amount of minutes on it. And then we have a video for you, and it's just about how screen time can affect young children and how it's such a big deal to limit your screen time.
How does a child neurologist feel about television and screen time? Well, the American Academy of Pediatrics, a very conservative group of doctors, has suggested that children under 2 years of age have absolutely no screen time, including passive screen time. Passive screen time is defined by a parent watching an adult program with a child in the room. Even though the parent feels that the child is not watching that program, the child is actually exposed to television. Developmental pediatricians have actually extended those guidelines a little bit. We feel that a child shouldn't watch television at all until they're able to talk about what's going on TV. So this usually occurs at about 3 years of age. Teenagers should also have their TV time limited. A very important study has come out that has shown that teenagers who watch 2 or more hours of television per day have higher rates of mood disorders such as depression and sleep problems. If you think about television or screen time with respect to certain diagnoses, if a child has autism, for example, I would recommend limiting or possibly eliminating screen time altogether if possible, even outside of the 3-year window, if the child still has not developed language. This is because a young child or a child with autism is still learning about how the world works with respect to joint attention and back and forth interaction between people. When any person interacts with a child, there are subtle nonverbal and verbal cues that let that child know about communication that's going on with your gestures, your facial expressions. The television doesn't respond back to what the child has done, so it's sending a different kind of message to that child's brain. Of course, an older child is able to differentiate that this is not reality, but a very young child might not know the difference between what they're seeing on the screen and what reality really is.
Thank you.
That